Depending on various factors and geographic location, from about the beginning of November to mid-December is the whitetail deer's breeding season, commonly referred to as the rut. There's likely been many friendships brought to an end during discussions over the details and behavior of whitetail deer during the rut. Truth be known, I don't think anyone understands it 100%, and deer for sure have different behaviors in different areas depending on habitat, hunting pressure, moon phase, weather, and a host of other influences. What we all do know for sure is this time of year is one of the most exciting times to be a whitetail hunter. Whitetail's priorities shift from self-preservation to propagation. The signs of the rut are obvious. Whitetail bucks start creating scrapes, rubs, and scent trails. Does who are ready to be bred will leave scent where the bucks have marked their turf, allowing the bucks to find those does and estrus who are ready to breed. Even bucks who are nocturnal the entire rest of the year will start moving in the daylight in hopes of breeding. It's not uncommon this time of year to see whitetail bucks wandering with their nose on the ground following a doe scent trail. With less concern for safety and a heightened aggressive nature, it becomes much easier for hunters to find or create opportunities to harvest larger, more elusive whitetail bucks this time of year. My name is Timothy Broche. I have a passion for the outdoors, family, and cooking. I embrace my primal instinct to hunt and gather. I understand how it defines me and appreciate the unparalleled food the outdoors provide. The water and woods call to me. Today is November 13th. I'm on pretty much my last hunting trip for the year, going after whitetail during the rut. It's one of my favorite times of year to be out in the woods, especially chasing whitetail around. I grew up hunting whitetail, and at the time we had an extended season through the rut, and it gives opportunities that you really don't have any other time of the year. So I'm on the first day of a 7-day hunt. I found this spot last year. What attracted me to this spot was a lack of accessibility. The main road goes along just right here behind me, but up here it's a kind of open timber with a few small trees and a clear cut, and then it goes up into the mountains. There's a recreational trail that does go along the hillside I found last year. It's pretty hidden, like unless you're willing to climb some stuff to find it, you're probably not going to see it, but once you know where it is, it makes this area fairly accessible. You can get quite a ways up there. I hunted this about 3 days last year. The cool thing about this area, besides the deer being in the rut right now, is the fact that it's starting to snow up high, and these whitetail in this particular spot stay in the high country when the weather's warmer and then migrate down as the snow falls up high. And then about towards the end of November, they come down into this low flat area and start staging up to start feeding in the hayfields for the winter. So it's a really cool spot. I ended up harvesting a pretty decent mature 4-point last year, way up on this hillside. So today what I'm going to do is throw my pack on. I'm going to go look for sign, throw out a couple game cams, look for hook trees, look for scrapes, see if I can find a place that makes sense for a tree stand, or just kind of get a sense of what's going on up here. So I get my pack on and get to work. You might be thinking right now with my talk about being excited about hunting during the rut and having unusual opportunities that this is an antler hunt. Not the case. I still have some space in my freezer that needs to be filled. This is 100% going to be a meat hunt. There's a couple whitetail snorting at me up here. Going up the hill pretty fast. So this is exactly what I was looking for. It's a scrape right alongside this trail, underneath this bush. So bucks do this to spread their scent and leave markers for does. They'll rub their face on these branches to leave scent up here. They'll scrape this dirt out and then urinate down their back legs over their scent glands and put their scent here. When the doe comes along and smells it, she sometimes will urinate in these as well. But they can track each other use in this process. So I'm just below where I shot my buck last year. It was just right up there, about as far as you can see. It looks like they did some work on the trails up here. This trail wasn't here last year, so they've extended it back in here, which is really cool. There's quite a few deer tracks on this trail, and this was the spot I was most curious about to see if there was any other bigger bucks moving around. I'm probably 3 miles from the truck, a 2.5 hour walk. So I just threw up my game cam on right here on the corner of this trail, looking down this way, so anything that goes through here, and it's a bit of a pinch point, so hopefully we'll get a sense of what's moving through here and when, and see if it's worth even spending time back here this year. So I'm back about a half a kilometer deeper into this burn area than where I put the first cam. So I just deployed my second game cam. There's quite a few tracks going up and down this trail, and it's the easiest place for them to cross. This stuff is pretty thick right through here. So there's a good chance if there's a few animals moving through this particular area that they'll use this old fire break, this fire line. There's definitely a trail going through here. It's not groomed like it was back where I put the other cam, but there's a definite trail that's being used. That white speck way out there is a whitetail doe. There she goes. She's all by herself. This was right in between both my game cams. As she settled down over there a little bit. So here's another scrape. This one is super fresh. Right on a hook tree. The rub on the tree looks a little older, but that scrape was just done probably, I don't know, it looks like it could have been done the last couple hours. So I'm right back down towards the bottom where I first jumped on this trail. But so that's the fifth scrape I found today. So after having a chance to hike through this area again, like I said, I was in here a couple days last year and got a pretty decent buck in here. But after hiking through the trails and exploring a little bit more yesterday, there's sign from the bottom. There's scrapes all the way along the bottom. There's a few scrapes on the west side of this knob. Lots of tracks up above, back behind in that burn area on the east side. But there's sign from the top to the bottom from the east to the west. So there's lots of deer. Looks like lots of deer moving through there. We're heading into the rut with the scrapes on the ground. Distinctly means the deer starting their breeding season. And the bucks and does will be moving around, especially the bucks will be moving around a little bit more, checking those scrapes. So it'll be interesting to see with a little bit of snow this morning if the bucks have already hit any of those scrapes, because they'll paw the snow and any pine needles and anything back out and remark those. And they sometimes can do that 2, 3, 4 times a day. A lot of times I've had game cams in front of scrapes and got pictures of them between 11 and 2 in the afternoon. So, you know, just because a lot of us have a tendency to just want to hunt early mornings and later evenings, I've gotten a lot of animals in the middle of the day. Probably half the animals I've killed in my life, or at least over the last 10 years, have been in the middle of the day. Noon, 1 o'clock. You know, that mule buck I shot a couple of weeks ago was 11:30 in the morning. The buck I shot up here last year was 1:30 in the afternoon. So I'm just gonna head back up in here, and I'm packing my lunch and a bunch of extra gear, and I'm just gonna spend the day up there if I can. So yeah, feeling fairly optimistic about this spot. Hunting whitetail is a lot different than hunting the mule deer. These whitetail have had a little bit of hunting pressure up in here, and a bit nervous. Unlike the mule deer I was hunting a couple weeks ago, where they just kind of hang around and want to know what you are and what you're doing and just stand there. These whitetail are the opposite of that. So I'm gonna get my other boots on and gonna get to work and see what we can find today. Just jumped a little whitetail. I couldn't tell if it could have been a little buck. It definitely wasn't a mature one. But I took off kind of up and to the left there, back into the timber. I've seen a few tracks. A few tracks down below. So there's definitely a few of them moving around in here. There's no tracks concentrated in any one area, but there's tracks in a lot of places. But just seen the first deer for the day. Looks like we may have some trouble with fog. It's starting to roll in a little bit, but just gonna keep working my way back towards that burn. Okay, just a quick debrief. Today is early morning, day 3. I've hiked probably 15 miles in the last 2 days. I've seen 3 does, 2 the first day, 1 yesterday, all of them running. I didn't even get a chance to see the deer before tail went up in the air and off through the woods, and they left. So hiking is not really doing the trick here with these whitetail. This is a public area, very high pressure. I learned a little bit more yesterday about how much pressure this area gets. Ran into the guy that does trail maintenance up here and had a little chat with him. So a lot of people are aware of this area. A lot of people hunt this area. We got some snow yesterday morning, so got a chance to see kind of firsthand what's happening with the deer, where they're at. Kind of misread the sign a little bit, I think. Yesterday, all the sign was down below. 95% was down below, close to the bottom. Only seen just a couple sets of tracks up high. So hiking, I'm going to change my strategy this morning. Off to the west side of this, where there was a few scrapes last year and this year, I explored just a little bit more back up off the trail. Found a place about 150 meters up into the woods off the trail at the west side of this ridge. I've seen 5-6 scrapes just all in one really small area. I got about a 30-minute hike or so, and then get the tree cleaned up and get climbed and settled in. My objective is to spend as much of the day today and tomorrow as I can in the tree stand, and hope those bucks come back to the scrapes that are back in there. So time to get hiking. Let the suffering continue. This is the spot that I picked for my tree stand. It's a little bit of a decline through here, but I found about 5 scrapes right over in that area over there, and about the inside of a baseball diamond. a spot is just gonna stand up against the tree in the direction I think I would be sitting in my tree stand and kind of imagine what I could see. Pretty happy with this spot. I don't like hiking through the area that I'd expect deer to come in. Well, today is morning and day 4. I sat in a tree stand all day yesterday. All day, except for about the last half hour. I got the wind picked up, and where I was at made me a little bit nervous being in a tree stand. But in the tree stand all day, didn't see anything. But it just doesn't seem like anything's moving around right now. It's kind of weird. Every day it seems like it's different. So I'm just getting geared up to go head to the tree stand for a couple hours. Move the game cams down to the tree stand, and I'm going to come back to the truck, drive over to the other side of the drainage, and hike around over there a little bit. It's about 10:30 on day 4. I just spent 2.5 hours in my tree stand in this area, just right up over there a little ways. I didn't see anything again this morning, so when I climbed down, I just walked along the timberline up there and found 3 more scrapes and a hooked tree. So I went and got my game cams that weren't too far from here and redeployed them into this area, just out in front of a trail and off to the side of one of the scrapes. But if they're moving through here, it's likely they're moving through at night. You know, I've had a presence here for a couple days now and haven't even spooked anything out of here after the first day. Just leaves me wondering if I'm wasting my time over here. But I still have a little bit of conviction that with all the buck sign in here, that, you know, something might come wandering through. Checking the scrapes again. Man, this weather is really weird, and I'm just not hearing or seeing anything. And it's nearly impossible to see sign right now. So I just came over to the other side of the drainage from where I've been hunting. I looked at this area a little bit on Google Earth last night. So I drove back on one of these old roads, and rock bluff that you see way up in the distance is my objective. I'm gonna swing around off to the right here and see if I can pick my way up through and get up there where it looks like it opens up a little bit, and maybe I can hunt this, looking for sign along the way. We'll see what this side has. Time to get to work. Well, I've been hiking for an hour. I got part way up here, and there's a road that has tire tracks in it. Dang it. I've worked really, really hard to make sure that this exact thing never happens. Obviously, I took some shortcuts on this deal. My map system that I typically use doesn't work up here. And when I was looking at it last night, couldn't be bothered to take a screenshot. But I'm pretty sure this road is on the map. So, rookie move. There's my truck. The road I was on, I thought it was the one that came back to the truck. It wasn't. So I would have had to walk that back road out down to the main road and about 3 miles back up to get to where the truck is. Thank God I marked the truck on the GPS, and there was a trail down through a clear cut. It wasn't too bad of a hike, but man, always mark your truck on your GPS or drop a pin or something, because that just saved me about 4 hours worth of hiking. Whew, so happy to see my truck. I had 2 does walk within about 10 yards of the stand this morning. They came in from quite a ways off, straight out in front there. Got really good blood here. What I'm most happy about is the shot I made. That's probably 120, 130 yards. I did have a rest, but right behind front shoulders, he was square to me, so he came out right behind the other front shoulders. He didn't go maybe 10, 15 yards. While I was packing out my last harvest for the season, it was hard not to think back about all the amazing places I hunted this year and the animals I was fortunate enough to harvest. I have to admit feeling a little disappointed that I'm done hunting for this year, but also feeling very blessed to have a freezer full of meat. My reminiscing quickly turned to excitement as I looked to next spring and getting back into the woods chasing critters around. I found myself thinking about all I learned this year and how I might be able to utilize my new experiences to improve my hunting tactics in future years. But for now, it's time to finish processing my harvest, put my gear away, and spend some well-deserved time with my gracious and loving family.